Has comicsgate sold out? Gone corporate? Gone soft? What's going on with Ethan, War Campaign, Doug, etc.? I've noticed myself listening less to some of the old channels in favor of the new ones. Some of the old channels feel too practiced, too slick. Back in my days, Sonny, I remember when comicsgate was raw, when it was wild and unfettered, when it was as gay and free as Dances with Wolves. Now it's more Waterworld, and R.I.P. in peace to all the kids who haven't seen those movies. Let me give a little plug to a show that is gay and free, The Jack Show. It's John Malin, Anna, Cecil, and Kelsey. It's so good that even if Ethan is live, I will still choose The Jack Show. They cycle through their channels, so you have to sub and ring the bell. The drunker Cecil and Kelsey get, the better, though if you have a weak stomach, it may not be for you. I once heard Kelsey Shannon talking about eating out Lena Dunham. Now, that is gross enough, but he said, get ready for it, he said he would eat it from the back. That image is great for weight loss. To be fair, I think and hope and pray that he was talking about the skinnier Lena Dunham from a few years ago. Now she's a land whale. There's a picture of her trying to tongue rape Brad Pitt. It looked like Jabba was trying to eat him. The image will give you PTSD. It still haunts me. I feel bad for Brad Pitt. I'm sure he smoked some weed after and banged a few 19-year-old supermodels. Has Lena Dunham looked at the previous chicks Brad has been with over his lifetime? Or does she own any mirrors? You know, I never understood how actors can get fat. I mean, it's your job to look good on camera. They can afford nutritionists to plan their diets. They can even have their healthy meals delivered daily. They can afford personal trainers. So when an actor gets fat, you know they really had to work at it. I imagine their agent watches them balloon up and sees their 10% agent fees go up in smoke. So I'm sure Kelsey wouldn't go down on current Lena Dunham. I pray he isn't that much of a degenerate. Where was I going with this before I got distracted by the image of Kelsey deep-sea fishing on Lena Dunham? Oh, Dances with Comicsgate. Comicsgate is probably 2 years old, so yes, it's gone corporate. In the first stage of something like this, it's wild and outrageous because they need to get enough eyeballs to build an audience for future sales of their books. But once they achieve that goal, they decided to play it safe and focus on slowly growing the audience while retaining the core that buys the books, which admittedly looks a lot like selling out. But for folks like EVS, your boy Doug, and John Malin, comics are a full-time job, and YouTube is their advertising medium. They don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. That's why EVS had to cut ties with Nurkish, which sucks because Nurkish was really funny. But that's part of comedy, pushing boundaries. It's probably part of the reason Zach left Twitter. Twitter doesn't bring in much money, but it does bring a lot of hostility and unnecessary headaches, and it sucks a lot of time. You probably think if you aren't on Twitter, you can't defend yourself, and that is true, but Twitter spats burn out quickly if you don't feed them oxygen. The 12 angry sociopaths on Twitter have moved on to EVS, Tug, and Yellow Flash. For them, out of sight is out of mind. Actually, now that I think about it, now that diversity in comics is gone, the Twitter Nazis have doubled down on EVS and Tug. But it's kind of funny because Tug and EVS are just normal guys, just plain Jane family men. But a bunch of childish weirdos on Twitter think they are Pol Pot and Papa Doc. The childish weirdos with crippling autism keep calling them homophobes, transphobes, and sexists. But they never seem to proffer any evidence, and truth be told, if you put a gun to their heads or got them on cross-examination, they would never actually be able to explain how EVS and Tug are some sort of phobes. For them, it's just a dog pile, a lynch mob. No due process for fascists. And how do you know they're fascists? Because Mark Waid and Renfamous said so. Of course, Mark Waid is in court because of his fat, stupid mouth, and one day I foresee that Renfamous will also end up in court. Of course, she doesn't have to worry about attorney's fees because she has daddy's money to fund her. Mark Waid, he's the guy who called just some guy a white supremacist. Of course, just some guy isn't white, but, you know, whatever. Don't let facts get in the way of Mark Waid's narrative. So, actually for Tug, a little Twitter drama is a good thing because Tug is still trying to build an audience to buy the littlest umbrella. while EVS can afford to grow his audience more slowly because he's already an established artist. EVS may have reached the point where Twitter is more of a detriment than a benefit. And not to put too fine a point on it, but Cyberfrog is 9 months late. If he got off Twitter, maybe his next project would be on time. So I find myself listening less to EVS and more to other shows. EVS said in the beginning that we all need to jump in and start our own channels, and Edwin Boyette has found his stride. I remember for the first year his channel had very little interaction, but lately he has started firing on all 8 cylinders. Ethan is still the big show at 130,000 subscribers, but Tug, Yellow Flash, the Cecil and John Malin show are all doing great. Of course, the War Campaign faction is building an audience, which is kind of funny because Roe started out as a bit of an edgelord, but he has a comic book out that turned out to be a surprise hit, Vestige on Indiegogo. I'm sure they never anticipated it doing so well. So everyone is going off in their own direction, building their own audience. Of course, days are early, and most of the audience is overlapping, but that will change, and these separate comicsgate factions will start to bring in fresh blood. Hopefully everyone in comicsgate will continue to cross-promote each other. Right now, EVS's show is the best way to sell a book, but when Tug and Yellow Flash team up, they get over 1,000 viewers. If they wanted to, they could probably sell the hell out of some books. EVS's stream is great at bringing 8 people together to help sell a book, but some of the other channels are getting big enough that they could do their regular show and just keep an Indiegogo up in the background. Every so often they could take a look at it or ask the writer a question or two about it. Right now it feels like there's a lot of wasted opportunity because while we are all roughly aligned in that we want better entertainment, we aren't all working together to help each other sell books. It seems like people are focused on selling their own books and not so much cross-pollinating. Of course, I don't mean a show should just sell. That's the Nasser hard sell approach. And it doesn't work. You just do your show and touch on the Indiegogo every 15 minutes or so. Anyway, these are just some ideas. What I've been flipping through in the background is the Betty and Veronica Red Sonja Vampira book. You may be unfamiliar with something like this. It's a fun comic book with pretty people. A shocking concept, I know. This kind of thing shouldn't be rare, but it is. Finding a book like this. I've zoomed in on the girls with the breasts because that is rare to find stuff like that in comic books. Nowadays, women are drawn as A or B cups, and they're basically short, skinny men with some slight hips. But this is a refreshing change of pace to draw these idealized bodies. Because, I mean, that's what comics are. They're a little glare. They're, escapist fiction, right? We don't want... I mean, it's kind of the thing about like the Doctor Who type thing where they're visiting Rosa Parks or something. It's like, yeah, it's a great historical event. It's amazing. But this is escapist fiction. We want to escape from the daily grind. We have the news for newsworthy items. This kind of stuff is supposed to be fun and lighthearted. And it is rare to find something like this. Something just fun and silly and lighthearted with people drawn to look like men, tall, broad shoulders, narrow hips, the classic V shape, or women looking like, women. Idealized forms of women. Of course, you're not going to find too many women this lean with C or D cups, but it's a comic book. People are idealized. It's escapist. It's supposed to be fun. And comics like this shouldn't be this rare, but they are. I mean, you flip through anything by a feminist writer, Gail Simone, Kelly Thomas, Mags Visaggio, I guess. Every single woman in those books are all the same, exactly, precisely the same body. They're all 5'6" to 5'8", 120 to 140 pounds, and God seemed to have missed them when passing out breasts. Surely you believe in body diversity. Most women have breasts. It's for feeding babies. It's a part of their biology. It's just to make every single character this flat-chested. It doesn't make any sense. It's just propaganda, and it seems like you really hate women, or at least you hate large-breasted ones. It's kind of silly. Anyway, this is a refreshing, fun change of pace, and we need more comics like this. That when I saw that, I was like, "What kind? This is you do not see this in comic books nowadays." I was pleasantly surprised and shocked. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next episode.